Hey there, Matt Scratch here. Well, I'm sitting in the back of my dad's 2005 PT Cruiser here, but I'm actually here to talk about the gold 2004 PT Cruiser that I recently sold. Um, I thought I should do, like, I had that car for 6 months and I drove it about 8,000 kilometers. I'll put up what that is in mileage. And so I wanted to go over what it took to keep the car running smoothly and reliably for that long, and any problems that we had basically. So we paid $650 for the car initially, and we actually never had a single breakdown with the car. That included the drive home, and we actually bought it as a broken car, so that was impressive. But I did have to repair the wire going to the crank sensor, and so that was a repair that I did myself, and it was pretty much free. But if you had to pay for a shop to do that repair, I had to take the intake manifold off and whatnot. So it probably would have cost you a couple hours labor. I also did the spark plugs around that time, so they were around $16 or $18 or whatever it was for some NGK V-Power plugs I put in it. And it already had newer plug wires on it and stuff, so I didn't worry about that. Um, I cleaned up all the ground points and electrical connections under the hood. That's something that's really important to do on a PT Cruiser. I changed the right hand tie rod end. That was $25 for the outer tie rod end. That was worn when we got the car. Um, I changed both the axle shafts, but I just put in used ones from a parts car, so that was pretty much free other than the couple hours of labor. I'll have a video coming up on that. And we had a random electrical problem where the dash lights would like flicker and stuff, and I discovered that was being caused by the ignition switch. So I changed that out. It was $16 for a new switch, and it took about half an hour to change it. So that was another minor repair. Um, Now, when I sold the car, and let me just say, I sold it full disclosure. I didn't like sell it and rip somebody off, but it had some problems when I sold it, and that was part of why I sold it so abruptly when I did. The water pump had started leaking. Now, that was an expected thing. That was like a maintenance item that I was planning on doing. And then I just decided last minute that if I was going to put the work into it, I'd get a GT and I'd put the work into that car instead. So it obviously needed a new water pump, timing belt, new front seals, all that kind of stuff when I sold it. And the person that bought it was well aware of that. I made sure they were. It also had bad control arms. I had actually bought the parts to do the control arms, and I was going to put polyurethane bushings in it for better handling. But I've decided to just save those parts, and I'm going to be using them on the GT. So there'll be videos coming up in the summertime on that. And it needed a new Watts link in the back. That was clunking, so again, that was a part I bought and never installed, so I'll be installing that on the GT when I get it, and I'll be doing a Watts link video at that time. I did put new front wheel bearings in it. I put Timken bearings in, and they were $31 each, so that's $62 there, and that one's a lot of labor. It's probably, well, the way I do it and I clean everything up and stuff, it pretty well takes me a day to do front wheel bearings on one of these Mopars. Now, if I was just doing it like they do it in the shops and, slamming everything together all rusty and stuff, you could probably knock it out in about 3 hours or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what the labor cost would be getting that done in the shop, but that's what my part cost was. So you can see it worked out pretty cheaply for us. I can't honestly think of anything else that I did to the car. I changed the signal light bulbs. I actually did that. And the license plate light bulb, I did a video on that. and I have a video on the signal light bulbs already on the channel. But I did that the day that the buyer picked it up, just to make sure that the lights all worked good on it and everything. So I mean, that was under $10 for all those bulbs. Other than that, I didn't do anything to the car. I of course changed the air filter, and I changed the oil. I think I only did one oil change in it because it had fresh oil when we got the car. So we ran it for a while with that oil, and then I changed out the oil. So it was coming due for an oil change when I sold it again, and yeah, so just the air filter and an oil filter and oil. So that's about what, $50 for that. And tires, I actually I saved the rims and tires off of it for my GT, and put some. Well, they were decent, safe tires that I put on it for the person that bought it, but they weren't ones that we wanted to keep and run on any of our PTs, so I let them go with it, and I kept the wheels that I liked that had come on the car, so that was like a bonus for me. So we drove the car 6 months. It had command start, so that was a really nice feature to have all winter. It never failed to start once all winter. That was one other thing. I had to put I put a used battery in the car when we got it. It needed a battery, so I guess you could say $140 for a battery, because that's about what a PT Cruiser battery in my area cost. But I happened to have one that fit in there, and I put that in, and that worked for the entire time that we had it. That was actually one that came to me free in a parts car, so it was genuinely a free battery. I didn't spend anything on that. I guess you could say there was a fair number of items, but remember, the car never broke down on us at all, so that's a huge bonus. It was a high mile car. It was a cheap car, and it was being sold as a mechanic special when we bought it. So the fact that, you know, we were able to use it reliably, and I just had to do these few repairs, wasn't a big issue for me. I still maintain that the PT Cruisers are a good, solid, reliable car if you do the correct maintenance on them. And basically what happened with that car is it was coming due for a lot of maintenance work at the time that I bought it. And I knew that going in, and that was part of why I bought it, so I could do a bunch of videos for you guys on it. And it's probably going to be the same thing with the GT that I bought. That's another high mile car that has sort of been driven into the ground the last couple of years. And so it's going to need a bunch of attention, and that's okay. We'll do a bunch of videos on it, and you know, I plan to make an entire library of PT Cruiser videos, so that's why I'm doing this. So when I sold the gold PT, I was actually asking $700, and I was negotiable originally on the ad, and I had full disclosure of all the problems with the car. But I ended up with a lot of interest in it, and I actually had pending on the ad for about 5 days until the person that did buy it could find their way out to pick up the car. They had pretty well assured me they were buying it, and in the meantime I actually had an offer of $1,000 on the car. I didn't take it because, well, one, that wouldn't be very fair to the person I had it held for. I had made a promise to them. And another thing is, I find people who make offers like that rarely actually come through with the money, in my experience. So I basically told them to never mind, that I'd get back to them if the other person fell through. But that person came, and they gave me the full $700 for the car and drove away, and they were really happy. I got a text when they got home, and they said they loved the car. So that made me feel good. I kind of don't really like selling cars. I'm always afraid somebody's going to be upset with me. You know, the cars I own are normally not perfect, and I normally try to sell them with disclosure of the problems, but you know, some people are not very realistic about car problems. So I hope you enjoy this PT Cruiser content and how-to videos I do and everything else. And just keep watching along, because there's plenty more coming. So thanks a lot. Don't forget to subscribe, and have yourself a great day.